name, called us thugs, then hid.
Hello, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James. This is your afternoon podcast, guys. It is, 23rd of January, a month that seems to have dragged on forever and a day. It really does seem like, this month has never ended. It really does. Honestly, geez, I mean, it has been an incredibly long month. January transfer window in full swing. Hopefully, obviously, further arrivals for Rangers upcoming. Obviously, we've got 3 that we do know of that are confirmed through the door to Remens, Chukwuni, I've struggled with his name, man. And obviously, Andreas Skov Olsson is the other one, obviously, who has come in through the door. One of the things I've kind of said recently, and one of the things I've kind of said, looking forward, is it's so nice to actually sit here, whether it's on a live podcast or whether it's on a video, sitting down and making a video, or however, it's kind of nice to sit down and actually make, videos and podcasts and commentaries with a positive spin on it. And to me, it feels very, very positive at this moment in time. It feels like things are genuinely heading in the right direction. Things are moving forward. Things are progressing. And the club is in a good place. The club is in a very, very good place. We have, it seems, the right head coach in place now. A head coach who seems to be able to do a number of things that past head coaches haven't been able to do. I mean, you look at it in terms of, first of all, a head coach that is not afraid to change the team to meet the needs of the opposition, to meet the needs of the game. A head coach who's not afraid to rotate the team. A head coach who is not afraid to make changes within the game as well. If something isn't working, he changes it. It's almost refreshing, to watch the games. And, you watch a game and you see that perhaps, the approach that we're using isn't working, or the shape that we're using isn't working, or the way that we're attacking isn't working. And Danny changes it. And it's so nice to see that we've got a manager who is proactive rather than reactive to everything in terms of his substitutions, in terms of his team selections. In addition to that as well, you've got a guy that rotates the team as well. A guy that's, who is able to change the way things are, who's able to do things. So, yeah, absolutely spot on. But there you go, guys. It is very, 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 very much a good thing for me. And it is nice, like I said, to make videos that are positive, that are moving forward in the right direction, that are heading in the right direction, and that this club is now, I think, good. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Sorry about that. Somebody decided to beep and beep and beep in the house. I had to quickly go and turn it off. But yeah, and the other thing as well, I think that is really reassuring for me is we seem to have owners now that have the best will of the club involved, that have a desire to back the manager, a desire to move the club forward in a great way, that are not afraid to learn from their mistakes. You know, one of the things that always kind of upset me and depressed me about the old ownership, you know, the Parks, the Bennetts, etc., was they never seemed to learn from the mistakes they made. They seemed to just make a mistake and then repeat that mistake and keep standing by that mistake and refuse to back down on that mistake and just keep pushing ahead with the mistake. Even though they knew they were wrong, even though that whatever they were doing wasn't working, they didn't seem to want to change. They never fully backed the managers. They never ever fully kind of gave the managers the support they needed. Some comments already in the live chat. So have a look at those comments. Peter Mack says, we badly need a striker and I would sell any one of the three of them. They're not doing the business. Peter, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree with you on that one. We do need a striker. I think you look at last night's game, we should have won that game quite comfortably by 3 or 4 goals. We really lack a cutting edge, a creativity, a decisiveness in that final third. Ball goes in the box to Chimiti. He misses chance after chance after chance. He has no composure. Yes, I agree. His link-up play is getting better, but he's not on the pitch. He's on the pitch to score goals, and he doesn't score goals. And last night, again, he lets us down with his lack of goal scoring, his lack of decisiveness. And I'm not, saying that Danilo or Miovski are any better. Miovski obviously was, again, last night, didn't take a chance that was presented to him. So on the whole, you look at it and you're right. I would take a fee for any of them. I'd take a fee for any of them. I'd take a fee for Miovski. I'd take a fee for Chimiti. I'd take a fee for Danilo. I would move any of them on and replace them with any of them. So, yeah, absolutely agree with you on that one. 100%, mate. We do need a strike. And we'll touch a little bit of that on that in this podcast. Jim Cunningham says, Dundee is a vital win. We will gain points, whatever happens at Tynecastle. Correct. Obviously, Hearts Celtic on Sunday at 3 o'clock. It's difficult to know who to want to win in that game, isn't it? It's difficult to kind of have a desire to say, I want these people to win or that people to win. You kind of look at it and say maybe a draw would be the best result, but then you kind of look at it and say, well, it's Celtic, isn't it? I always want Celtic to lose. So, where do we go with this one? So it's a difficult one. So you're right. Whatever happens at Tynecastle on Sunday, we do obviously gain points on them, on whoever, as long as we win, obviously, as long as we win. I'd put Gassama out on loan, not Curtis. I would sell Gassama, Peter. Honestly, I don't think he is of a high enough quality. I think at times he looks like a world beater. At other times he looks like a carpet beater, to use that old expression. He lacks decisiveness. He lacks decision making. He makes silly mistakes at times. I do think that, that he is perhaps not living up to what we hoped he would be. I mean, I think when he initially came in, Peter, we said, this is an exciting player. This is a get bums off seats player. This is kind of that, that exciting player we wanted. Obviously now we hope that's going to be Andreas Skov-Olsen, but he certainly hasn't lived up to that, has he, at all? He has struggled. At times he's looked fantastic, don't get me wrong, and scored some fantastic goals, but at other times he's looked genuinely dreadful. So yeah, hi Rangers fan content, how you doing? Harvey Rowland says, do you think Rangers will sign another marquee signing by the end of the window? I would certainly hope so, Harvey. I think a striker is an absolute massive must, as myself and Peter were talking about earlier. It is a must, an absolute must, and I do think we do need a striker. We don't have a striker at the club. We have 3 strikers in name, but I certainly wouldn't put Chimiti or Danilo or Miovski as good enough to start. I just don't think any of them are good enough. Miovski is probably the best of the 3. Given his experience in Scotland, given the fact that he scored goals in Scotland. But I would say out of all of them, he's probably the best. Danilo, I think he's finished at the club, to be honest with you. I think all the injuries, all the impact from those injuries have kind of had a long-term damaging effect on him. So I do believe that there is a lack of not ability, but a lack of heart, a lack of battle, a lack of fight, a lack of just
go to website you love,
desire, just ability to settle into the Scottish game now from Danilo. So I don't think that Danilo has got a future at Rangers. I think for us and for him, I think it would be better if he moved on. I really do. Chimiti, to me, just is not a player. He just is not a player. I get the lads trying harder now. I get that. I get that, that his link-up plays got better. I think that's come from Danny's work that Danny's done with him. I just don't rate him. I just don't think he's not going to score you enough goals to win a league title. That's how we've got to be looking at it now. Who can we get who can score us 20, 25 goals in this second half of the season to get us that league title, to get us in with a shot? And I think, if Rangers are going to win that league title, which, we've got every chance of doing this season, you need someone who can put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis. Someone who, when chances are a premium against Hearts, against Celtic, against those teams, Hibernian and higher up the league, takes those chances. And I just don't think you can trust Chimiti to score those goals. And people give me the example of, he scored 2 against Celtic at Parkhead. Yes, but it was Wilfred Nancy's Celtic, a very, very poor Celtic, a very bad Celtic. So I don't think you can put a lot of stock in those goals that he scored against Celtic at Parkhead because of the fact that they were so abjectly bad under Wilfred Nancy boy. So, I don't think there's a lot of stock can be put in that. So we do need that striker, I believe, if we're going to go on to win the league title. Look, we're in a position now that we were back. I mean, if we think back in time for a moment and you go back to Philippe Clement's time. Now, if you remember when Clement came to the club and in his first season, and we were in a position in January to win the league, and if we bought a striker in January, and I will stand by this until the day I die, if Rangers had gone out and bought a Lawrence Shankland or someone of that type in January, we go on and win the league. We seriously go on and win the league. We genuinely do. And I, at the time I was, anti-Clement. I was really, really, not hating on Clement, but, wanting Clem on out. But he, I think, got a rough end of the deal. He really did get a rough end of the deal. He did really get screwed over by the board. And I think had he been backed in that January, we probably would have gone on and won the league. We would have won 56 before now. And we're in a similar position now, I believe, that if we go out and we strengthen in January, which we are, but we go out and buy a striker in January, somebody who's going to score us those 15 to 20 goals in the second half of the season, we go on and we win the league. We go on and win the league. Peter Mack says, Moore and Gassama are keeping Curtis out of the team. As much as I like Moore, a lone player shouldn't stop us from progressing our youth. I've got to say, Peter, I agree. I thought Curtis looked really good when he came on last night. I thought he looked really good. I thought he played very well. I thought that shot that he had where he cuts in from the right, does a step over, shoots. I honestly, genuinely think that he's a good player. And look, if he goes out on loan, which it looks like he's going to go out on loan, I wish him all the best. I really do. I wish him all the best, and I hope he comes back a better player than he leaves us, because he's a good footballer in my opinion. He's got a big future in the game. And I agree. I don't like loan signings stopping our own players from progressing. I agree with you on that one. Airwolf, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you here. Thank you for the super chat. £2, very, very much welcomed. Any super chats, always welcomed. Help to support the channel, guys. Obviously, as well, please, obviously, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Obviously, commenting as much as you want. It says, hope Celtic go on a Euro run and get bogged down. I mean, that would help, Airwolf, as much as it would pain me to see them doing well in Europe and pain me to see them winning games and progressing in games. Yeah, it would help. Of course it would. They don't have the depth of squad, I don't think, to be able to compete on all fronts. I don't think they have the depth of squad to be able to Scottish Cup, the league and the Europa League run. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't for a minute think they'll win the Europa League. I don't think they're even good enough to make the semi-finals. I mean, you look at the teams in that top half of the Europa League at the moment. I mean, Lyon are top. Aston Villa are a fantastic side this season. They're in the top 3 in the Premier League. They're playing some brilliant stuff. Freiburg are a decent side. Midtjylland a decent side. Braga are a good side. Roma are a good side. Ferencváros, as we saw when we played them, are a good side. Betis are a good side. Porto are a good side. We've got them to play last. There's Stuttgart. There's a lot of teams, I believe, that are very strong in that Europa League that Celtic will struggle to overcome. So, look, at the end of the day, they need obviously a result in their final game. They've got Utrecht in their final game, and they need a positive result from that Utrecht game. Utrecht are one of the worst teams in the competition, so they're on 1 point. So, I think they've got a chance of progressing, certainly. But yeah, I agree, Airwolf. As much as it pains me to say it, I would much prefer to see Celtic struggle, go backwards, and lose games. But going back to my point on Philippe Clement and on the strikers situation, like I said, I think we would have won the league that season. I think we win the league this season if we go out and buy a striker who's going to put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis. Then I genuinely think that we have got a great chance to win the league this season. And look, Philippe Clement's down at Norwich City now. He's not doing too bad. He's got them out of relegation trouble. They sit, where do they sit now? They sit fifth off bottom. He's won 3 out of his last 5. And I must say, it's a result I always look out for. Norwich now. My partner and her daughter are big Coventry City fans. I was winding them up the other day saying that when Norwich play Coventry in a few weeks, I will be supporting Norwich, obviously supporting Big Phil. Clement was right man, wrong circumstances. Airwolf, yeah, absolutely. I think had he been backed, had he been given real money to go and bring in players that he wanted to bring in conjunction with Niels Koppen, I think it would have ended very differently. I think Clement was sold a lie, and I think he kind of tried to allude to that in a lot of what he said, that he was sold a lie. He was told that he was here to rebuild Rangers. He was told he was here to get the club back to winning ways, but it didn't work that way. He was kind of lied to, I think, a little bit. But look, we're on a more positive. Clement had a spat with a player, did he? Which player was that? Oh, I'm not sure. But yeah, look, getting back to the present day, last night, I think, was a big step forward for Rangers. The first win in Europe this season, and it was a good performance. Ludogorets, as I said, Ludogorets are not a major name. They're not a huge name in Europe. They're not there now, but they were in the qualification part of the Europa League situation. So they've had some decent results in Europe this season. But to me, it was... Oh, Josh Sargent, he's a pain in the arse anyway. But he is... What was I up to? Yeah, I think, it was a major step forward, and it was a better performance as well. I thought first half in particular, Rangers were very, very good indeed. I do think that, that obviously that lack of that cutting edge, that lack of the ability to put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis did hurt us last night. And I think against the better side... if we'd been playing a Porto, a Villa, a Lyon, a Midland, I think then we might have struggled a bit more because I think they would have come back into the game. But I think it was a big step forward last night. And to me, you are moving... He has moved this team in the right direction. And Airwolf's right. If we're keeping clean sheets, we aren't far away. That's one of the things that Danny's done so well for me, is he's tightened up this team massively. He's tightened up the way we play. He's made us harder to beat. He's made us harder to score goals against. If you go back to the start of the season, Rangers was so easy to play against. One pass diagonally between our fullback and our centre-back took out our midfield, took out those two, you were in behind us. That was how you beat Rangers. Everyone knew it. We had a high back line, ball over the top, between the right back and the right centre-back, or between the left back and the left centre-back, and you were in. And everyone knew that's how you beat Rangers. But now, Danny Röhl has brought in a way of playing that's made us more difficult to beat, that's made us a lot more solid. We don't give up as many chances. We don't allow the opposition with as many opportunities to score goals. We're a lot tighter at the back. Now, has some of that tightness... cost us in terms of our ability to create? Are we a little less potent going forward? Possibly. And, when you try and tighten up at the back, that's always a kind of trade-off, isn't it? That you lose a little bit of that attacking prowess. And, if we were able to get that striker in, I think it makes a massive difference. We do need a striker. If you bring in a striker, if you bring in someone who's going to put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis, you improve your chances of winning this league 1,000,000%. And I honestly believe we've got a great chance going forward of winning this league, of actually, doing very well in this league. I think I've got a stat somewhere of our. So there's the league table as it stands at this moment in time. So the league table is there. We've got obviously Hearts are top on 50 points. Then it's Celtic on 44, Rangers on 44. They're just ahead of us because of goal difference. Okay, and it's only one goal that is the difference between us and them. One goal. That's it. And obviously that's going to change this weekend because of the fact that Hearts play Celtic. They both can't get 3 points. They both can't win. So that's not going to be. That's not going to obviously enable either of them to get ahead of us. So we're going to possibly move up into second place or possibly get close to Hearts. If we win against Dundee. Now, I'm going to disregard the Porto game for a moment, okay? Disregard the Porto game for a minute. The well lad would do for me, but we will do what Rangers do and ignore him. I think you mean Elliot Watt. Yeah, I think possibly. The arrogance towards some certain Scottish players, I think, is there. And we probably will not move for him in the end. But, you look at what we've got. We've got Dundee at home this week. We've got Hibs away, Killie at home, then Motherwell away, and then Hearts at home. So it's a little bit of a tough run of fixtures upcoming in terms of once we get past Dundee. Now, look, no disrespect to Dundee. They got a point out of us last time we played them. I think that was a different Rangers at that point. They come to Ibrox. I think we should beat them. You've got a real opportunity there to put to start and keep that momentum going, to keep that momentum really running. You look at those last 5 games, 5 wins in a row in the league. I think there's no reason why that can't be 6 wins in a row this weekend against Dundee. No disrespect to Dundee, they're not a great side. They're not a top team. They're not doing brilliantly this season at all. They sit in 9th place. They're 6 wins, 4 draws, 12 defeats. They've conceded 34 goals and only scored 19. So, it's a game that we should be winning. It's at Ibrox as well. So, again, given the way we're currently playing, given the way they're currently playing, that's a game we need to be winning. We've then got a little tough run of fixtures in terms of, with possibly the exception of the Kilmarnock game. Kilmarnock are second off bottom and it's at Ibrox as well. But you look beyond that, Hibs away, Motherwell away, Hearts at home. Now, if we can come out of those next 5 games with 15 points, then the league title will be absolutely bang on. The league title will be absolutely bang on. If, for example, again, we're playing, we're guessing here. We're guessing here. If Hearts and Celtic were to draw this weekend, which would be probably the best result, they'd go to 51 and 45. If we win this weekend, we go to 47, which closes the gap to Hearts to 4 points. Okay, if we then beat them at Ibrox, then that takes it down to 1 point, and then it's all to play. It really is all to play for. But there's 5 games there, 5 tough games upcoming. Joy Love says Gassama has absolutely no end product. Fed up of watching him. Gassama is a really frustrating player, Joy. He is a really frustrating player. He's a player who can go past 2 or 3 players and then just doesn't finish or doesn't create anything. He either hit the goalkeeper or put it over or put it wide or whatever. He just, to me, is very frustrating to watch. And Airwolf says Gassama's just another Kent, not lots of end product. Jota, Kuhn, Tierney numbers prove that. You take Václav Tierney last season. He had a great season last season. Abdallah Sima the season before that. You can out wide have players who do contribute an awful lot. And Václav Tierney this year has made 14 appearances for Besiktas, scored 3 goals and 5 assists, 8 goal contributions in 14 from the wing. He is contributing. He always did contribute. He's a very, very good footballer. And you're right. You can get players that contribute from out wide. You've got to have end product there, and Gassama hasn't got end product. Peter Max says it's the diving he's doing constantly. It's becoming annoying and embarrassing. Yeah, he does seem to go to ground very, very easily. Maybe that's kind of a bit of a sort of, what's the word I'm looking for here? A kind of trait in these French players, these young French players. They do all seem to have that trait to some degree. So yeah, I kind of get where you're coming from on that one, mate. I really, really do get where you are coming from on that one. Guys, just a reminder, we are now on 8,381 subscribers. Please obviously keep us moving forward. I'd love to get to 8.5 subs, and then on to 10 again. So we're looking at Dahl again. Yes, according to reports, we are looking at Jan Hierto Dahl, the defensive midfield player from the Norwegian lad. It would be a very good signing, I think. Would really add to the midfield, and again would very much fit that sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Type of player that we're currently looking at. You know, we're looking at fast, strong, athletic, physical players, and he certainly, Dahl, fits that one. He certainly fits that profile. Definitely does fit the profile fully there. Why does he have to beat a man 3 times, beat once, then to? But I agree. Reed, you are spot on, mate. He seems to want to go past someone and then beat them again and then beat them again. And it's frustrating. And I think it's one thing that is obviously holding him back now. I don't imagine for a minute, Rab, that Danny Royle is telling him to do that. I think that's him himself. So, you know, maybe Danny's telling him not to do that and he's not still doing it. So he's obviously probably frustrating the manager as well, I would imagine. Peter says, okay, European teams do that, but he's doing it in Scotland. That ref was terrible. Yeah. He's the problem is as well, Peter, is if you get a reputation for hitting the ground, you know, too much, then if you get a reputation for diving, then you are going to be given very little, and you are going to miss out on decisions because, you know, you are going to miss out on decisions because you have this reputation for, you know, for going to ground way too easily. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem. And he needs to get over that. He badly needs to get over that. He really, really does need to get over that. 100%. Roll pulls this title off. He will be in the Bundesliga within a year. Yeah, I mean, look. The problem is, Airwolf, and I'll get to your point in a minute, your question in a minute, Peter. I think the problem is that for us now, as a football club, you go back to the time of Walter, you go back to the time of Souness, we were in a position there where we could retain our manager, we could retain our players, we could retain everybody. And we could keep hold of players because of the status of the club, because of the money we had. Unfortunately, now we are way down in the pecking order. We are not in one of the top 5 leagues in Europe. And if someone comes to Rangers and does well, they will be moved on. You know, so for example, Danny Royle, like you said, if he wins this league title, probably wins something next season, you'll have Bundesliga clubs sniffing round him, Premier League clubs sniffing round him, and he'll probably head off the same way that Gerrard did. And that's not because they're disloyal. That's because now, and I hate saying this, guys, Rangers has become a little bit of a stepping stone now. You know, it's a stepping stone club to England. It's a stepping stone club to the top 5 leagues. You know, if Nico Raskan goes off with Belgium and plays a big part in this summer's World Cup, if it goes ahead, if nobody boycotts it, then, you know, you're going to have a situation where he is probably going to move on as well. And that's just where we are as a club. And I hate that. And I don't like talking about that and saying that we're a stepping stone. But we've become a stepping stone club, unfortunately. You know, we don't have the money in Scotland to compete with England. Even the English Championship has more money than we do. I mean, you're looking at Wrexham possibly paying £19 million for a striker. You know, you're looking at Championship clubs selling players for 20 million, north of 20 million. Premier League clubs paying players £200,000-300,000 a week. You know, we haven't got the money anymore, and that's the problem we've got. Exactly. RM, welcome in. I'm going to get to the Red Zitch one in a minute, don't worry. Igman did the same, wanted to beat the same player 3 times. Looked impressive, but it's not as productive. Curtis beats a man and moves on. I agree, RM. I'm a massive Curtis fan. I think he's a good player. I think he will hopefully have a big future for Rangers. Too many step-overs and the striker is out of position. Agreed, Bojangle. Yeah, you know, if you've got a striker attacking the near post or attacking the back post or attacking the middle of the goal, if he's going straight in there and the winger's fanning around, he's going to be either offside or the ability to get him the ball because he'll be suddenly picked up or marked is going to go away. It's changed days, Owen. There's so much money in other leagues. Agreed. You know, you look at in Spain, Barcelona, Real, Atletico have all the money there. You look at Germany, Bayern, Borussia, RB have got all the money. You look at France, obviously Marseille, Lens, Paris Saint-Germain have got all the money. So it's a very different world, a very different world. We do need to start referring to all the lower league English players as duffers. Yeah, I suppose we do, guys, to some degree. And I think the problem is that we've picked up a lot of them, Airwolf, haven't we, over the years? We've had a lot of very poor footballers in Scotland. At Rangers that have come out of the lower leagues in England, and that's the problem, I suppose. The Dowells of this world, for example. Getting back to the Damir Redzic situation, at the moment there's no movement on the Redzic situation. Apparently it still is obviously very much at the people are negotiating over him and looking for a possible move for him. The worrying thing is that Celtic apparently are in for Redzic as well. He's been dubbed the Hungarian Robben, apparently. I mean, if he's half the player that Ian Robben was, I mean, he'll be an awesome footballer. Ian Robben was a great player. I used to love watching Ian Robben. But, yeah, I mean, the worry is obviously it seems to be between us and Celtic, and other clubs seem to be interested. The more we faff around on the deal, the more chance we've got of missing out on him, I suppose, is the big one. LA Lakers Normiron says Leeds have just had a bid rejected by Wolves for Strand Larson. Now, if they go back in and get him, that surely means Joel Peru will be on the move. Just saying. Yeah, I mean, possible. Peru would be a good deal. I did see I don't know if this was a joke or what it was, but I did see a story that Celtic were trying to sign Joel Peru from Leeds, and Leeds were like, fuck off. I mean, Celtic have got to be a bit stupid. If they think Leeds, a club that has an involvement with Rangers, is going to sell them a player who could help them be ahead of us in the league, I think it's not going to happen, is it? Parag Marathe is not going to sanction the transfer of a player who could hurt Rangers to Celtic. So I think that's a crazy one. What's your opinion on the defence last night? The two centre-backs gave me the fear. Aaron's keeps stopping and going backwards, frustrating. The defence was fairly solid last night. I can see why you say that, Peter. I mean, Giga has got a mistake in him. That is a big, big worry. Giga has got a mistake in him. He does make mistakes an awful lot. Good players down there. We just have badly recruited down there, says Airwolf. Agreed. And I think this lad we're interested in from Sheffield Wednesday, Jan Valery. This lad here, he looks a good player. He looks a very good player. He's currently with Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship. He looks a solid player. He looks a quality player. And you're right, mate. You're right. 100% right on that one. The TV bubble will burst one day as people can't afford the TV subscriptions, and it will have a big financial repercussions. I suppose that is always a possibility, RRM, with any of this situation. The more Sky keep paying for the rights, the more they'll put up the bill. The more they put up the bill, the more families that will perhaps make decisions that they can't afford Sky TV anymore. They can't afford TNT anymore. So, yeah, there's always that worry, isn't there, I suppose. Celtic have an interim. We have a permanent manager. May take a difference on Redzic. True, very true. I think, you may look at a situation where Celtic perhaps don't fully recruit this January because of the fact they have that interim manager till the end of the season. So it is what it is on that one. I mean, I would hope, as I said on the video the other day, when I talked about Damir, the Fire Stick loyal lol. As I said the other day, when I was talking about this, I do hope that the interest in Damir Redzic is genuine interest in Damir Redzic, that he is someone who Rangers are seriously looking at in terms of bringing in to improve this squad, because he looks an absolutely superb player. And I think with him one side and Skov Olsen the other side, you've got two players who can make a massive difference. Now, if you add into that a good quality striker as well, then you've realistically got a very, very good team. You've got a really good team, a really good team, really good side that can threaten others. Airwolf says, Ollie Iro, one to watch, scored 2 on a Mansfield debut. Okay, I know nothing like Redzic is no brainer. Keep him for a few seasons and sell him on for big money. This lad is rapid and scores good goals, says Scott Miller. This is what I said, at the end of the day, you've got to look at him as being a long-term investment as well. He is a top player, and I think he looks a very fine footballer. And I think, the more business like that we can do and bring in these good quality players from these markets that perhaps are not as exploited by the English clubs or the other European clubs, the better. But Damir Redzic, to me, looks a very, very good player. looks a very, very good player. You know, a really, really spot on footballer, and I would love us to go and get him. I think he would make a big, big difference. You know, the comments that are coming out of Donetsk Strada, you know, at this moment in time, I mean, their boss is a guy called Branislav Fodrek, and he says it would take an extreme offer for him to be sold. That is what is being touted. Now, I don't know what a extreme offer is to a club like Strada. Fodrek went on to say this. He says, as long as the transfer window is not over, anything can happen. We communicate with the management of the club often, so we are working on it continuously. There are alternatives for some departures, but also rivals, because we have selected players, so we'll see. I would not like to talk about it now, but we know where we have weaknesses and where we need to strengthen. The owner knows this too. So if an extreme offer comes in for a player, he will consider that. Then it will be important that we have the alternatives to replace that player. So it sounds like that any transfer of Redzic will also be dependent on Strada being able to bring in a player to replace him. And I think that is obviously fair enough. I mean, look, if you sell a player, you want a player to come in and replace them, don't you? You don't want to just sell a player and lose it. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, look, I hope that, like I said, I hope that it's serious. I hope there is a real concern, a real intention to buy that player there. RM says, hello, Parag, it's Martin O'Neill. I'd like to talk about one of your players. Click. Yeah, I'd hope that's where it goes. If you're getting a Hungarian international for 3.4 million, we will regret it big time. Yeah, I don't think if we don't sign him, I think we will regret it. The winger at Motherwell is worth a punt. The boy from Sunderland, Neil, have you heard anything down there about him? He's a good player, Peter. Dan Neil is a very, very good player. I've got a fair few mates, because I was born in Sunderland. My mum was a massive Sunderland fan. I've got a fair few mates who are Sunderland fans. They're upset to see him leave. They would hate him to leave the club because he's a Sunderland lad. He came through their youth system. They had big hopes for him. He's a very good footballer. He's a good passer of the ball. He even though he looks slight, he is physical. He gets stuck in. He's not afraid of a tackle. He would be a really good addition, Peter, if we could get him in. He, like I said, he's done very well in the English Championship down here. He's a player who I think would have a big part to play for Rangers. So yeah, absolutely. What else have we got? Seema only played 10 times this season, maybe worth an inquiry. Yeah, I mean, look, obviously the worry around Seema Airwolf is always his injury history. He does seem to miss a lot of games with injuries. That is always the big concern around Seema, is his injuries and the amount of time he misses out. But I mean, you know me, Airwolf, I'm a huge Seema fan. Loved Seema when he was at the club. They always say never fall in love with a lone player. Unfortunately, we did. To survive as a club, we should be looking for the next Raskin or any other type of player he steps in with. Yeah, agreed. That's how we're having to work now. You know, that's how we're having to work now. We're having to set up this transfer trading model. We're having to work as a club that sells players to survive. It's a transfer trading model. You know, we're working like Brighton, Brentford in the English Premier League. You know, that's how we're having to work because, as we said earlier in the pod, we haven't got the money anymore to be able to just go and spend. You know, I know the owners are spending at the moment, but there will become a time when they start having to recoup some of that cash for FFP reasons, for their own financial reasons. So, you know, yeah, that is the way to go. Recruit them young, sell them. Absolutely. I'd rather have Redzic rather than Mason Weezy, no problem. Yeah, I agree. I'd rather have Redzic as well. He looks a better player. Looks a much better player. And I think he's a player with a big future as well and a bigger sell-on value. RM says Dan Neil just didn't seem to cope with the EPL. There's a lot of players that can't. And I think there's a lot of players in our squad that wouldn't cope with the EPL. The standard in England is very high. Is really high. And you know, you see that, I think, with some of the results in the Premier League. You know, even some of the top teams lose to some of the lower teams or the mid-table teams. The Premier League is the toughest league in the world. It is the hardest league in the world. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of players who do struggle to make that step up. I mean, do you think there's another statement signing in like Dar? Hopefully, Scott. I mean, Danny Rule seemed to kind of mention it, didn't he, the other day? He kind of sort of alluded to it the other day, didn't he? And he said, you know, basically that we want to bring in another statement signing. We want to bring in, you know, someone who is going to be a big name, a big difference maker. So I think it is a possible, mate, a possible. Where do you sit on Tregard? Do you mean Asgard? The jury's still out on him, Airwolf. I think he's improving, certainly. I think he's getting better. I still think he's a little bit slow to use the ball. I think he's still a little bit B-Tech Todd Cantwell, to be honest with you. He's improving, don't get me wrong, and I think Danny's got a lot to do with that. I think he needs the season. He needs the full season to really see where he's at. I genuinely do. He needs the whole season, mate, to see where he is at. But he is getting better. But like I said, I think he is a little bit slow on the ball at times. I think he doesn't use the ball quick enough at times. I think he's not 100% there yet, shall we say. And I would dispute whether he's a 10. There is a lot of our players that can't go with the SPFL. I mean, I agree, RM. There's a lot of players can't. He is getting better, getting goals now. He is. I didn't say he wasn't there. I'm just saying there, Wolf, that I think he's still got a way to go. He needs a season. He's just a little slow for me. He's still a little on the slow side for me at times. I think he does need to use the ball a bit quicker, move a bit quicker, be a bit more decisive as well going forward. I think there's always that concern with Asgard. I mean, look, he is a player that's done it internationally. I mean, his record for Norway is pretty good. He's got a pretty decent record for Norway, hasn't he? He's doing okay at Rangers. I mean, his international record. Let's have a quick look at his international record. Let's have a little look if I can find it. With Norway, he has got 5 goals in his time with Norway, which is not bad at all. Let's have a little quick look at his stats a bit more. Where are we up to? Norway. Here we go. 6 caps, 5 goals. I mean, pretty decent. I think he scored a lot of those goals in one game, though, from what I remember. He scored 4 goals off the bench against Moldova. Yeah, so 4 of his goals came against Moldova. So yeah, he's playing for Norway. He's playing at international level for Norway. So he's obviously no mug. Norway are a decent standard team. So if you're getting in the Norway team and you're getting in their squad, you're obviously a fairly decent player. You look at Norway's squad. Let's have a quick look at Norway's squad if I can find it. Okay, so you look at their midfielders, for example. Here we go. Their midfielders, they've got Thorsby, who plays at Genoa, Berg, who plays at Bodo Glimt, Sander Berg, who plays at Fulham, Thorsveld, who plays at Sassuolo, Armstad at AGF, Antonio Nusa at Leipzig. I know he's a player that lots of English Premier League clubs have looked at. The brilliantly named Oscar Bob, who plays for Manchester City, and Aaron Denham, who plays for Toulouse. They've also got a pretty decent striking line. I mean, you've got Strand Larsen, Haaland and Sorloth, who are all good players. They're a good international side. And I think, you look at, like I said, their midfielders around him all play for fairly decent clubs. Genoa, Bodo Glimt, Fulham, Sassuolo, Leipzig, Toulouse, Man City. So, if he's getting a look in there, he's got to be doing something right. Yeah, absolutely. Where are we going? 4 of those goals in one game. That's what I said. Hopefully Danny can use his magic on Ant-Man. I mean, he's got to, let's face it. If Asgard gets space, let's get some of your comments quickly, actually. I've missed out on some of your comments. If Asgard gets space, he will perform, but he can't play when he's closed down quick. And that's what I mean, RM. He needs to use and move a bit quicker, I believe, to cope in Scotland. Hopefully Danny can use his magic on Ant-Man. Yeah, I mean, Ant-Man's been awful so far. He's had one good game. That's it. One good game for us, which was against Plitzen in his first game. And then since he's kind of got into the setup, he's been really, really bad. That was some free kick up there with the best. Why did Asgard let Magoma hit that free kick? Very true. Good point. Strange, wasn't it? Scandinavian teams are better than people think. I'm sure Pep would agree. Yeah, after Bodo Glimt beat them. Yeah, I think Scandinavian teams are. And I think buying players from Scandinavia is good because they're physical, they're strong on the whole. They would suit our style of football. So I think that's a good shout, mate. A good shout. Do you think we have found a gem with his free kicks taking over from Tav? And why didn't he take that free kick last night? Yes, Rab, I think we might have found a gem with his free kicks. Someone needs to take over from Tav because hopefully Tav won't be here much longer. Why didn't he take it last night? Ain't got a clue, mate. You'd have to ask Danny Rule that one. You'd have to ask Danny Rule. West Brom conceded 8 in 2 games under his coach Nancy 2.0. Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Plus, they're cheap in Scandinavia. They are cheaper in Scandinavia, and I think one of the things Rangers have got to do going forward is you've got to have a situation where we are shopping in markets that are perhaps not as bigger exposed markets as others. You know, the issue you've got is if you start looking in France, in Germany, in Holland, in England, in Brazil, in Portugal, you're going to start paying premium prices for players because that's where the top European clubs shop. You know, the Italian clubs, the Spanish clubs, the German clubs, the English clubs. And those teams that are selling know that if they hang on, an English Premier League club's probably going to come in and triple what you're willing to pay for the player. So that's the issue. So yeah, you're going into Scandinavia, going into parts of South America, going into Austria, going into parts of Africa certainly do help. What else have we got here? Hopefully these new signings will see other players in our squad improve, playing with better players. I think that's always been the thing, Stephen. I think, you know, if you surround players with excellence, they play up to that excellence. And I think, you know, the Scovolsons, the Chuanis, the Romans of these world hopefully will come in and raise the standard, raise the level. You know, if you're surrounded by shit, you pretty much perform shit. You know, if you go into work and everyone around you is depressed, fed up and doesn't want to be there, you pretty much get dragged down to that level very quickly. Whereas if you're in a workplace where everyone's, you know, working to a high level, is enthused, if such a workplace ever existed, you know, you work harder, don't you? You do. Any truth in Owen in Copenhagen wanting Danilo? If we get anywhere near 3 million, we should consider it. I don't know. I haven't seen that one. I will look into it. LA Lakers normally are on. English market, higher wages and fees. Agreed. They are. It is. There's so much more money down there. Scandinavians are used to playing in the cold and would have no problem with the Scottish climate. Very true. Something that was always levelled against Ridvan as he always looked cold. On Sunday, I think we will see a different Rangers team with Chukwuani and Olsen. More firepower from Olsen. He will create lots of... Yeah, I think that's a good point, mate. Austria is another decent market, Airwolf. Agreed. Scott, you're spot on there, mate. You know, obviously, Chukwuani can play... Obviously, Romans, I think, is out injured. But yeah, we can see Skov Olsen this weekend. We can see Chukwuani this weekend. So yeah, I think there is an opportunity there to really, you know, bring in some of these new signings and let some of these new signings hit the ground and really show us what they can do. And I think it's exciting. It is exciting to have these new signings. You know, in the past, we've never been in that position, have we? You know, we've never been in a position where we can actually go out there and bring in these players and have these exciting players. And the board have certainly helped by investing in this January transfer window. It has helped. It really has helped. Scandinavian players used to poor pitches and bad weather. They are. So yeah, all positive on that aspect. Definitely Bojangles. I think that is a big one, mate. You know, like I said, Scandinavian players are physically strong. They're used to the colder weather. They play a similar sort of style of football. It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. I mean, you look at the team. Who's going to drop out the team when players come in? That's a good shout. I mean, obviously, Suter's injured, isn't he? So, I mean, you look at it in terms of the team for the weekend. I think, you know, you're probably going to look at... Unfortunately, Tav will come back into the team. Unfortunately, I think he will come back in. Like I said, Romans is injured, so he's obviously out. That's not great. I think Chukwuani will come into the team at the weekend. I think that Skov Olsen will start at the weekend. So yeah, absolutely. I think they will all come in and make a difference. RM says, I'm disappointed in Miovski. He should have buried that chance, and our press drops back 20 yards when he comes on. So hopefully Skov Olsen will help them out. Yeah, Miovski to me isn't really a player who plays in that style. He seems a bit of a strange one. I think Miovski's better as part of a two. I don't think Miovski is a lone front man. I don't think he works as a lone front man. And certainly when he was at Aberdeen, he was up front with Sokolo, was it? I think it was. He was up front top with. So I don't think he works as a two. What else have we got? Romans back hopefully for the Hibs game. Magoma caught out with the ball over the top all the time. Yeah, I think having Romans back will be a big one. And I think... Magoma, the issue with Magoma is that he's a young lad. He's still a young lad. He's still learning the game. And I think he still has that mistake in him, Scott, definitely. But yeah, going back to Miovski, yeah, he should have buried that chance. If he put his foot through it, he scores. Prince Amooko Jr., 9 games, 17 ups, only 9 goal contributions in 17 appearances, only 18. Good player. Norwich want the boy from Bodo Glimt that scored 2 against Man City. There's bargains out there. There is, Stephen, absolutely. Like I said, you need to look at that market. You need to look at those foreign markets, those Scandinavian markets. A loan move for Curtis to Kilmarnock and Ciala to Motherwell would benefit them both, and I rate both. Rothwell and Matundo surely both secure moves away. Hopefully we get a couple of $100,000 for Rothwell. Yeah, I think, you know, Rothwell out, Dowell out, Matondo out, clear some of the dead wood. That's got to be what Rangers are looking at. And I think, as I think I've said, the owners will at some point be looking to get some of the money back. They're not. It's not a bottomless checkbook, is it? You know, they're not going to keep spending and spending and spending and spending and spending without getting some money back. So yeah, I think, you know, if they can get some money back for Danilo, for Rothwell, Matondo, Dowell, you know, you're not going to get a king's ransom back for them because they're not great players, but anything back is a bonus. And I agree, you know, if we have to send them out on loan, then send them out in the Scottish Premier League to learn their trade in the league they're going to be playing in. Agreed. And plus they might cause some damage to Hearts and Celtic. Miovski in Aberdeen strip doesn't hesitate, buries that chance all day long, says Scott Miller. Rob Miovski needs suppliers. He does, and that's what I've said. I think he plays better as in a two, not up front on his own. Magoma is probably the most improved player this season. Shame we can't keep him or maybe extend his loan. Yeah, I mean, look, he is going to go back to Brentford. I think Brentford will use him going forward. I think, like the Mikey Moore situation, they've sent him up here. To gain experience, to learn the game, and us to kind of develop the player for them. You know, I think they've kind of realised they're not going to get the minutes. They were never going to get the minutes down south. So, you know, that's got to be... yeah, Dowell's gone. Hang on, what have we got here? Inside Ibrox. Hull City set to seal the deal. So let's have a quick look at what's happening with the Kieran Dowell transfer. Let's have a quick look, shall we? Kieran Dowell's departure from Rangers has taken another twist, with fresh evidence now suggesting the midfielder has joined Hull City on a permanent fee transfer rather than a loan. Yeah, so Dowell's gone to Hull. That's good news. He's gone. If it is a permanent deal as well, that's even better news. Thank you, Stephen, for pointing that one out. Magoma is probably the most... I've got a huge blow to the leadership group. Dowell's gone, lol. Yeah, yes, Dowell away to Hull. That's good news. I'd missed that one. Completely missed that one, to be honest with you. Over the last few days, missed that one. Been at work a lot, missed a fair bit of stuff, guys. Fair few people watching now. Obviously, please hit like on the video if you haven't yet subscribed. Please subscribe as well. Yeah, absolutely. Just typing in the live chat. Okay, right, look, what else have we got? A centre-back and a striker would do for me for the league. I don't think we'll go for a centre-back in this window, Peter. I think any centre-backs will come in the summer once obviously Giga will be gone. Suter, we don't know what's happening with Suter yet. He hasn't signed a new deal. I think there's still negotiations ongoing over that. So Fernandez is definitely staying, and Ciala is probably going. So you look at the whole centre-back situation, I think that's going to be a one for the summer, if I'm being honest with you on that one. I mean, I'm going to have a quick look now. You know, Rangers squad at the moment. You look at the centre-backs we've got, and I think a centre-back will be a summer signing, if I'm being honest. I don't think it will go for a centre-back in this window. Like I said, you know, at the moment we've got Cornelius, who's on loan, Giga, who's on loan. They will both go back, I think, to their clubs. Cornelius obviously missing so much time with injury, which is a shame because Cornelius looked a good player. Suter, we still don't know about. Fernandez is definitely a Rangers player. And Ciala, I think, will probably leave in the summer. So you're looking at one centre-back. We've got one centre-back then, definitely confirmed in Fernandez. You know, I think we do have to sign a centre-back, but I don't think it will be till the summer. Mikey Moore got to do better as well with that chance last night. Yeah, I think he should have just smashed it, Scott. If he smashes it, he scores. He does seem to have dropped off a little bit, but you know what? That's what happens to young players. With young players, they go through really hot spells where they look amazing, and then they go through spells where they lose confidence and they don't play as well. That's what you've got with young players, and you've got to kind of coach them and bring them through that period. Doing a good job developing players, and clubs are more likely to give you good players to develop. Agreed. So you're more likely to get better loans. We have 6 centre-backs on the book. Yeah, Airwolf, only one of them guaranteed to be here next season though, and that's why I think the summer is more likely for a move. Do you think we can recoup the money for Emmanuel Fernandez? I think we will, Harvey. Long term, I think Fernandez, he scores goals. He's getting better defensively. He looks more solid. Yeah, I think we will, mate. I think he's a player we will get money for. Are you content if there's no more incomings? No, Stephen, we need a striker. It's an absolute must. We've got to get a striker, 100%. Airwolf, Fernandez keeps improving. We'll make a profit. Agreed. Absolutely. Scott says, I think there will be more signings. I really hope one is Dahl. Dahl looks a quality player, mate. He looks a very good player. He's another one, I think, that you keep for 2-3 years and we sell on for big, big money in the future. Because Casilla's not a permanent signing. I'm sure he's on loan. Let's have a little look. I'm sure he's on loan. Derek Cornelius. I'm sure he's a loan player. If I could type, it would be so helpful. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, he's a loan player. Loan players on loan. Danny is has us creating more. We just need to be more clinical. Bojangle, you're spot on. That's why we need a striker. P says he's a loan with an option to buy. The problem with the option to buy is that injury history now is going to go against him. And I think Rangers have been stung with the Cortez situation. Obviously we signed Cortez and when we ended up having to sign him. So, yeah, I do think he will be gone in the summer. Honestly, I wouldn't be upset if Suter, Cornelius, Giga, Aarons and Tavernier all go in the summer. Me neither, RM, especially Tavernier. Compared to previous January windows, we have done well if they all perform. I agree, RM, but we do need a striker. May not need a striker if you get wingers and midfielders in the... Yeah, absolutely. If the wingers and the strikers, if the wingers and the attackers pick up the goals that you want them to, yeah, absolutely. Prime Time says Rangers can do better than Cornelius. I think going forward we probably can. But I think, the centre-back will be something we look at in the summer, I believe. It's not a January thing. I think it'd be more a thing for the summer going forward. Look, it's Dundee this weekend. I think, that's a game we should be winning. And I think Danny plays his strongest side. I hope I'm really excited to see Skov Olsen. I'm really excited to see Cornelius play this weekend. I think that's massive. I think they'll make a huge difference. I think, bringing those two in, Chouani and Skov Olsen, I think will be massive. Hopefully, that gives us a chance to really go out there and really put a performance on and send a bit of a signal to the rest of the league that we're really serious. And these signings are going to make a big, big difference. And I think, if we're seen to be putting these signings in and these signings hit the ground running and are playing and are scoring goals, are helping create goals, then it's going to send a signal to Celtic and Hearts that they need to start worrying about Rangers. Because I think for too long now, Celtic especially have kind of seen us as a soft touch, as an easy touch. Well, it doesn't appear that's the case any longer. Right, guys, that is it for this afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all your brilliant comments. Great to have a conversation with you. I've got to head off and do a few jobs now. I will catch you on the next one. Please, on the way out, remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It's been a pleasure. As always, guys, let's keep on going. Let's hope this run keeps going this weekend. And let's hope we're celebrating 56 come the end of the season.